Most intriguingly, Ron speaks of encountering reports on his own supposed activities in places he had never even visited, specifically running with Nazi spies in Brazil. Eventually, however, and like a figure first glimpsed from the corner of the eye and only gradually assuming shape, this Pedrito grew fairly definite as the prodigal son of a wealthy Brazilian clan. The man was also apparently on the lam from authorities in half a dozen nations, and further fleeing the fathers/brothers of at least a dozen jilted ladies. Now, while we may find many an adventure from L. Ron Hubbard's fabulous years of exploration woven into earlier works for which he is now famous, Fear, for example, was partially crafted from tales heard within that Puerto Rican hinterland, Pedrito continued to simmer. By the early 1980s, however, and the author's much applauded return to popular fiction with the internationally best-selling Battlefield Earth, that curious case of mistaken identity began to plot itself into a story. As originally conceived, the story became a full-length L. Ron Hubbard screenplay, complete with detailed notes on direction, characterization, sets, and sound. In accordance with his lifelong commitment to younger authors, however, and fully appreciating just how difficult it is to break into the world of writing, he granted the novelization to another, in what amounted to a golden opportunity. In either case, the underlying theme of the story has since proven fully on the mark: the dark reality of a United States Central Intelligence Agency as anything but a slick and sophisticated stable of spies. To underscore the point, L. Ron Hubbard's story notes reference an original agency failure to impede a flow of arms to Castro prior to the fall of Batista, while we might further reference all the agency has finally come to represent in terms of myopic bureaucracy, or, as underscored by later revelations from an Iran-Contra affair, sheer buffoonery. As the reader will soon also discover, however, the L. Ron Hubbard view of an equally myopic and overbearing Soviet intelligence machine is hardly more flattering. Yet, Pedrito is a story of far more than two dimensions, i.e., far more than the tale of two look-alike spies in the midst of a looking-glass war. Rather, here is the world in which those spies dwell, replete with muddled politics, convoluted schemes, and highly ephemeral loyalties. Needless to say, this world of Pedrito is not only a place of devilishly clever gadgets, highly seductive women, and wholly unpredictable situations. It is also a place that is real, where the wine is not always vintage and cigars are not always Cuban. By the same token, however, here is a world where action never flags, deception never ends, and anything can follow from such seemingly innocuous questions as, "Ay, Pedrito, ¿cómo está?" Dan Sherman. Dan Sherman is the author of several highly acclaimed works on Cold War espionage. Mr. Sherman is presently engaged in the definitive biography of L. Ron Hubbard. The Publisher. Chapter 1. In the jungles outside of Havana, Cuba, a squadron of black ducks crossed the sky at dusk, like bats. According to the tourist guidebooks, it was considered a very bad omen. The ducks arrowed together, seeking evening prey among the numerous gnats and insects rising from the island's steaming jungles. Then, as one, the flock of black ducks veered, quacking in instinctive fear as they skirted the imposing edifice of a grim fortress perched atop sheer, rugged cliffs high above the sea. Curling ocean waves crashed against the rocks below with a roar like a lion guarding the citadel. The treacherous road that led up to the spiked front gate of Morro Castle stopped in an ancient courtyard. Knotted vines protruded from the ground, buckling the flagstones. No welcome mat lay at the foot of the barred wooden doors. The daily newspapers had not been delivered in some time. An ominous sign announced in Spanish, "No soliciting." Over the years, the dark fortress had been used by an endless stream of torturers, mad scientists, and megalomaniacs with their tiresome schemes of taking over the